Hello, and welcome to History Unveiled. I'm Lucy Worsley, and I'm thrilled you've joined us for another exciting journey into the past. Today we're lifting the veil on a topic that's sure to raise a few eyebrows. We're delving into the secret world of medieval nuns. You might think you know all about nuns. Quiet, devout women in black habits, spending their days in prayer and contemplation. But what if I told you there was more to their story? Behind those convent walls, there were tales of rebellion, passion, and forbidden pleasures. In this episode, we'll explore the hidden lives of these fascinating women. We'll uncover their secrets, their struggles, and their very human desires. So grab a cup of tea, make yourself comfortable, and prepare to be surprised. Are you ready to unveil the secrets of the past? Let's dive in. When we think of medieval nuns, what images come to mind? Serene women in flowing habits, their faces framed by crisp white wimples. You might imagine them kneeling in prayer, their hands clasped devoutly as they murmur Latin verses. These are the nuns of popular imagination, pious, pure, and utterly devoted to God. But is this image accurate? Well, yes and no. Many nuns were indeed deeply religious, committed to a life of service and prayer. They were often well educated for their time, preserving knowledge through the Dark Ages. Some even became powerful abbesses, wielding significant influence in their communities. However, this is only part of the story. Medieval nuns were also human beings, with all the complexities and contradictions that entails. They had desires, ambitions, and frustrations. Some entered the convent willingly, driven by genuine faith. Others were forced into it by families seeking to avoid costly dowries. Today, we'll explore both sides of this fascinating coin, unveiling the hidden world behind the convent walls. Life in a medieval convent was governed by strict rules. The rule of Saint Benedict, followed by many orders, laid out a rigorous daily schedule. Nuns rose before dawn for the first prayers of the day. They then spent hours in worship, study, and manual labor. Meals were simple and often eaten in silence. Personal possessions were forbidden. Even speaking was restricted in many convents. The vows taken by nuns were equally demanding. Poverty meant giving up all worldly goods. Chastity required renouncing all sexual activity and even thoughts. Obedience demanded complete submission to the will of superiors. These vows were meant to free nuns from worldly distractions, allowing them to focus entirely on spiritual matters. But for many, they were a heavy burden to bear. Despite the strict rules, many nuns found ways to indulge in small pleasures. Food was a common area of rebellion. While the rule called for simple fare, some convents became known for their elaborate feasts. In 14th century England, the nuns of Barking Abbey were reprimanded for their love of fine wines and spiced ales. Fashion, too, was a temptation for some. The simple habit was meant to eliminate vanity. But records show nuns being scolded for wearing colorful underskirts or adorning their veils with jewels. Intellectual pursuits were another form of secret indulgence. While study was encouraged, some nuns went beyond religious texts. They read romances, wrote poetry, and engaged in lively debates. Heloise, the 12th century nun famous for her love affair with Abelard, was renowned for her scholarship. Her letters reveal a mind that refused to be confined by convent walls. These hidden drawings reveal a mischievous side to convent life, reminding us that even the most devout had their moments of levity. Section 5. Forbidden Fruits, Temptations of the Flesh. Now, dear viewers, we come to a delicate subject. Despite their vows of chastity, not all nuns remained celibate. Records from the Middle Ages are filled with tales of nuns who succumbed to the temptations of the flesh. These stories range from secret love affairs to outright scandals that shocked entire communities. It's a reminder that the human heart and body can't always be constrained by rules. One common scenario was the parlor romance. Convents often had parlors where nuns could meet with visitors. These meetings were supposed to be supervised, but love found a way. There are numerous accounts of nuns forming attachments to male visitors, exchanging love letters, and even planning escapes. In 1387, Catherine Holway of Marchiate Priory fled with her lover, taking the convent's jewels with her. Sometimes the temptation came from within the convent itself. Despite strict segregation, some convents employed male servants or had resident priests. This proximity could lead to dangerous liaisons. In 1314, a nun named Joan of Leeds faked her own death and escaped her convent to pursue the way of carnal lust. She was eventually caught and returned to the fold, but her story lives on. Section 6. Scandalous Sisters, the Wotton Priory Affair. Let's delve into a particularly juicy scandal that rocked medieval England. The Wotton Priory Affair of 1160 had all the elements of a modern soap opera. It involved a young nun, a secret pregnancy, and a brutal act of revenge. This scandal was so shocking that it was recorded by multiple chroniclers of the time. Our story begins with a girl who was placed in Wotton Priory as a child oblate. She grew up in the convent but, as she matured, found herself drawn to one of the lay brothers who worked there. Despite the strict segregation of the sexes, the two managed to meet in secret. Nature took its course, and soon the young nun found herself pregnant. When her condition was discovered, all hell broke loose. The other nuns were furious at this betrayal of their vows. They beat the girl and locked her in a cell. The incident caused a stir in religious circles, with some defending the nuns' actions and others condemning them. Section 7. Naughty Nuns, More Tales of Mischief. The Wotton Priory Affair wasn't the only scandal to rock the medieval church. Convents across Europe had their share of rebellious nuns. In 14th century Germany, the nuns of Kirchheim unter Teck were infamous for their wild behavior. They hosted raucous parties, inviting young men into the convent for dancing and drinking. The local bishop was horrified, but the nuns seemed to revel in their notoriety. In Italy, the convent of Santa Maria Maddalena in Monza became the setting for a scandalous affair. Sister Virginia de Leyva, known as the Nun of Monza, carried on a long-term relationship with a local nobleman. She bore him 2 children and was involved in the murder of another nun who threatened to expose her. Her story later inspired a novel by Alessandro Manzoni. Even convents known for their piety weren't immune to scandal. The Abbey of Fontevraud in France was one of the most prestigious in Europe. Yet in 1259, an official visitation found widespread corruption. Nuns were accused of wearing silk underwear, keeping pet dogs, and sneaking out to attend festivals. Section 8. The Human Side of Holiness. As we've seen, medieval nuns were far more complex than the pious stereotypes suggest. They were women of flesh and blood, with desires, ambitions, and flaws. Some truly found fulfillment in religious life. Others struggled against its restrictions. Most probably fell somewhere in between, striving for holiness while grappling with very human temptations. It's important to remember that these women were products of their time. Medieval society was deeply patriarchal, offering few options for women outside of marriage or the convent. For some, the convent was a refuge, a place where they could pursue education and even power. Hildegard of Bingen, for example, became one of the most influential figures of her time, respected as a visionary, writer, and composer. Yet even the most devout nuns were not immune to the pressures and temptations of the world. Their struggles and triumphs remind us that the path to holiness is rarely straight or easy. Section 9. Rewriting History. What these stories tell us. So, what can we learn from these tales of naughty nuns and convent scandals? First and foremost, they remind us that history is always more complex than we imagine. The lives of medieval nuns were not simply a choice between perfect piety and outrageous sin. They encompassed a whole spectrum of human experiences and emotions. These stories also challenge our assumptions about the past. We often think of medieval times as uniformly repressive, especially for women, but the reality was more nuanced. Convents could be places of oppression, yes, but also of opportunity. Some women found freedom within convent walls, freedom to study, to create, and even to love. Moreover, these tales of rebellion reveal the resilience of the human spirit. Despite the strict rules and harsh punishments, many nuns found ways to express their individuality. Section 10. Join the conversation. Share your thoughts. Well, dear viewers, we've come to the end of our journey into the secret world of medieval nuns. I hope you found it as fascinating as I have. We've uncovered tales of passion, rebellion, and very human frailty. We've seen how even in the most restrictive environments, people find ways to express their individuality and pursue their desires. But our exploration doesn't have to end here. History is a conversation, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. What surprised you most about these stories? Do you see any parallels with modern life? If you've enjoyed this peek behind the convent walls, why not subscribe to our channel? We're always uncovering new and exciting aspects of history. Hit that subscribe button to ensure you never miss an episode. Until next time, this is Lucy Worsley saying goodbye and happy history hunting.